Hi, so today I'm going to give an introduction to some LGBTQ+ young adult literature. LGBTQ+ will be abbreviated as queer from here on out. I will give a disclaimer that it's a very short list and it's only books I've read, so there may be books that are relevant here but they wouldn't fit, or I haven't crossed them off my to-read list yet. We're going to start with the definitive classic lesbian teen book, Annie on My Mind by Nancy Garden. Two teen girls with different socioeconomic backgrounds in New York City meet in a museum, and their newfound friendship quickly turns into romantic love. That love for each other unravels and explodes in a time when the things they're feeling are silently forbidden. But with the support of two teachers from the narrator's school who are also discovered to be gay, and with lots of thought once they're both in college, the two are presumably reunited after the letter that is the framework for the book is sent as reconciliation. Annie on My Mind is pretty essential reading for teens who are starting to discover themselves. This book reminds its readers that it's important to follow your heart as far as you can, and that it's always worth it to fight for the things in which you believe. I'm pretty sure this book has helped people in their struggles for establishing their identities and creating queer spaces in their schools, and also in fights for comprehensive sex ed and other things that aren't necessarily directly represented in the story. There's a reason that this book is still being read widely 32 years after it was originally published, and you have to dive into the world that Nancy Garden creates to understand why it's so special. Unfortunately, this book is on the long list of sad lesbians being sad fiction. Next is Boy Meets Boy by David Levithan. Boy Meets Boy is the exact opposite of Annie on My Mind in that it's written in a world where an entire town is incredibly accepting and accommodating for queer children and teens. The community rallies to kick out the Boy Scouts and start their own scouting group. The high school star quarterback is also the homecoming queen, Infinite Darlene. Though it's been a while since I read the book, but I think it's left unclear whether Infinite Darlene identifies as trans or a drag queen. In either case, she prefers traditionally feminine pronouns. And all of this is just the backdrop for a cute romance between the student body president while he's planning the big dance and the artsy new kid in town. This book is maximum cute and is the perfect cure for any cynicism you may feel after finishing your first pile of queer teen books that maybe it was accidentally composed entirely of sad lesbians being sad. It's cheerful and impossible to put down and serves as a reminder that there is the possibility for goodness in this world. It is a perfect go-to book for when life has you down and all you want is happy gay people living their happy, adorable lives. The third book for discussion today is Empress of the World by Sarah Ryan. Empress of the World is the story of a young girl who is attending a summer program for gifted students when she falls in love with another girl and helps her shave her head and is eventually heartbroken by the twicky twists of teenage lust. This book is particularly notable for its portrayal of bisexuality, which is missing from a lot of other queer teen lit. Bi-passing versus bi-erasure is a conversation for another day, but having some representation is good both for people who identify as bisexual and people who don't. The story also mirrors the experiences of gifted teens who are entering these incredibly open communities for the first time pretty perfectly. It is at the top of my list for bisexual teen literature and for gifted students who don't see themselves represented honestly enough in other books. Our second to last book for today is Rainbow Boys by Alex Sanchez. This book is the story of three boys in the same school. The first is a jock who is struggling to understand his sexuality and what it will mean for him both at school and at home, where he struggles with an abusive father and slim chances of going to college. The second is a boy who has recently started accepting himself and is finally comfortable coming out to friends and family, and who sort of visually blooms throughout the book as his relationship with the jock boy grows. The third character is a self-professed queen who flaunts all that he's been given proudly, but is worried that he may have contracted HIV after having unprotected sex with a man he met online. Rainbow Boys is notable for its discussion of all the issues teenage boys have in addition to their budding sexual identities. Issues with college and grades and body image and sex ed, and all sorts of other things that both directly and indirectly affect their relationships with their identities. I haven't read either of the other two books in the Rainbow trilogy, though it's been killing me for years to not know whether Nelson tests positive for HIV or not. I am very comfortable recommending this book to all sorts of people, whether they're just starting to question their sexuality or they're comfortably basking in their own gay glow. This book is honest and at times uncomfortable, but always has something important to say before it picks up to a happier place. The final book I'm going to talk about today is The Miseducation of Cameron Post by Emily M. Danforth. This is the most recent queer book I've read, and it felt very different from the other ones I've talked about so far today. Mostly in that it doesn't make me seem like I'm stuck in 2003. The story follows Cameron Post's life from her first crush on her best friend that leads to her first few kisses when she's 12, after which she immediately learns of her parents' death in a car accident, the first contact she has with another lesbian outside of her tiny Montana town, finally being caught with another girl from school and being sent to a Pray Away the Gay school instead. There she falls in with the stoner group and they eventually run away to a freedom they've never had but always needed. The Miseducation of Cameron Post is laudable for its sincerity and its ability to express what it's like to constantly be told, even by your own brain, that you're living in sin. Also for the fact that it focuses on a geographic area which gets very little attention. It is also the only book I've read with two-spirit representation, and that is so important. I honestly wish that that identity and role had been given more discussion, or that that part of the book had started earlier so that we could experience those characters more. Also, the third person in that group at Jesus School is an amputee, so that's pretty awesome. Those are all the books I'm going to talk about today. I don't think that any of these books portray the intersection of different identities in a teen's life very well, but I do think it's important to remember that each of them gives representation where it is sorely lacking, and that's very important. I'd also like to be open about the fact that this list isn't very trans-inclusive, and that's my fault for not reading enough YA lit that focuses on trans experiences. That will be fixed soon. I'd also like to mention that I have a huge list of fiction and nonfiction that I've enjoyed that I can't share right now, but if you'd like to talk about queer teen lit, that is literally my favorite thing. So if you'd like recommendations, or if you just want to talk about a book, let's do that. That's all for today. Check back every day in April for a new video, and check back tomorrow as I go on a road trip back to my dad's house. Also, if you have any ideas for videos for the next 19 days, I would love to hear them. Please give them to me as soon as possible. Yes, cool.